This is BYU Math 112. In this video we will discuss section 2.6 and exercise like number 43, which has directions: find the horizontal and vertical asymptotes of each curve. So when we want to find the vertical asymptotes, we want to look at where our denominator is equal to 0, with the caveat that we be careful of what's on top of our fraction also. So if we want to factor this, it factors into y equals -2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1. Our bottom part is going to factor into 3 times x minus 5 times x minus 1. And so when we look at vertical asymptotes here, what we have to watch for is we have an x minus 1 on the top and an x minus 1 on the bottom. So if we look at this function, those are going to cancel each other out. And so we will not have a vertical asymptote where that factor is equal to 0. But we will have a vertical asymptote here when x minus 5 is equal to 0. Solving that, we're going to get x equals 5. And that is where we will have a vertical asymptote. Next, we go over to the horizontal asymptotes. How do we find the horizontal asymptotes? We look at the limit as x approaches positive infinity of our function 2 minus 2x squared on the top, 3x squared minus 18x plus 15. And similar to what we did in our last video, in section 2.6, the way we evaluate these is we're going to multiply by 1 in a special way. We're going to take the highest power of our x's, in this case it's x squared, multiply by 1 over x squared over 1 over x squared. Therefore, we don't change the value of the limit because we just multiplied by 1. So we have the limit as x approaches infinity. Multiplying by 1 over x squared on the top, we get 2 over x squared minus 2. On the bottom, we're going to get 3 minus 18 over x plus 15 over x squared. And then again, we can take the limit of the top and the limit of the bottom by our laws of limits, take the limit of each part, and so we're going to get that this part goes to 0, this part goes to 0, this part goes to 0, and we just end up with -2/3. And so we have a horizontal asymptote at y is equal to -2/3. So there's our first one. Now if we note that when we look at the limit as x approaches negative infinity, do we have to worry about signs this time? Since we were looking at 1 over x squared is what we multiplied by up here, 1 over x squared, 1 over x squared. Okay, what happens if we put a negative number in there? Do we have to worry about our negative signs? In this case, no we don't, because our power is even. So when we look at the limit as x approaches negative infinity of 2 minus 2x squared over 3x squared minus 18x plus 15, in this case, we're also going to get -2/3. I'm not going to go through and show the work again, but the work for this limit would be the same as the work for the last limit. So on both sides of this graph, I'm going to have a horizontal asymptote at y is equal to -2/3. And that's how we do vertical and horizontal asymptotes.